Hi friends, this is Angelica Colon. I had been trying to make this video to share information with you about what's going on with the markets, what's happening with the economy, some insights that people might not be aware of. I have here that might help me with information, but he's a little bit so I wanted to do this video again, and there's has been a lot going on for me, so I haven't been able to. I just wanted to make people aware, probably not aware because you guys are already acknowledging the high prices when you go to the supermarket, when you go to put gas on your car. So many things happening that tells you that things are higher in price, that our income is no longer enough in many cases to be able to afford the things that we used to afford in the past. And all these things happening where you go to the supermarket, you buy something that used to be cheaper and you buy it for more, and now the boxes are smaller, shrinkflation, or all of that. So we all know that we are going through an economic crisis per se, but I just wanted to make everyone aware that things might get worse. Not only talking about the economy and what are happening with the stock markets and Fed increasing interest rates, but also just what the Bible says, things going from bad to worse. But at the same time, there's a lot of information of things that are happening and we are not aware of. So there's banks that are suffering right now, banks that don't have the funds that they used to have, markets crashing, stocks going down, a lot of things happening that are similar to what happened in 2008 and previous years of depression. Just saying that people need to be aware that the economy is crashing and that things are just pointing at a possible recession. So what can we do to be prepared if a recession hits? So many people are seeing increases not only in the supermarket, gas bill, they're seeing increases in their mortgages. Property taxes going up, insurance is going up. There's a lot of things that are happening all at once. And many people are getting laid off. And that's what the Fed wants. That's what the Federal Reserve wants. Because they say that if people lose their jobs, then that means that there's less spending, so less demand. So that means that prices get to go down and de-inflate, which is what has been happening. However, that puts families in crisis, meaning that people will not have the income to be able to afford what they can afford. So let's say that it's already hard as it is for your family, but then because they're trying to achieve this amount of people getting fired or laid off so that they can fix the economy, then you get laid off as part of that. So what is the recommendation? The recommendation is make sure that you keep your job. But if you're not able to do that, make sure that you're saving, that you're keeping a few months of saving rather than spending, because it's not the time to make big purchases. It's not the time to go ahead and buy expensive things or buy things that are not needed, just getting liabilities instead of assets. So at this point, I'll say just start saving, because we don't know what is in store as a worst case scenario during this time. On top of that, there's things that we are not aware of, which is, for example, in Florida, because of the hurricane and what happened, many families are not aware. So your taxes are already increasing. Your mortgage payment is already increasing because of the taxes and insurance increase. However, there is something worse coming. So for Florida, starting this year, households are required to get flood zone. For those of you that are not familiar, flood zones is usually required when you are living in a very close to water or in a zone that is prone to flooding. However, when that happens, houses cost increases because flood zones are not cheaper. So in some cases, they can be higher, expensier than the regular insurance. But now this requirement is being extended to all Florida. The way that they are requiring this information is through layers. So based on the value of the home is going to be required, and there's like a schedule on when this is going to be required depending on the price or value of your home. So what that means is that your house can increase another $500 a month. It can increase $1,000 a month. And we are already seeing families that are being affected by this. So we have to be prepared. In some cases, people that used to afford their homes are most likely not not able to afford their homes anymore because of that flood insurance, because of the increases in taxes and all the other expenses. So again, making preparations so once that requirement hits your household, that you know what you want to do. So in cases, it means you might need to sell your house before that hits, because if you don't sell your house, then that means you're not going to afford it, and then other people are not going to be able to afford it easily, and you're not going to be able to sell it. In some cases, it means just preparing with a higher income job, with savings, or different methods. So for example, not spending as much or decreasing your spendings in other areas. But in general, all I'm saying is we need to prepare. Things are becoming more difficult. So we need to make sure that we are paying down high interest debts. So I'm talking about those vehicles. I'm talking about especially those credit cards. Credit cards used to be a risk for people that don't have the educations to use them as a tool. And it used to get people in problems, but right now it's even worse because interest rates are higher. So these banks are benefiting when we get into debt because we're not able to afford things. So we put them on the credit cards and carrying those balances on a monthly basis. And instead of using credit cards as a tool, we are using it as something that is destroying our income. So what can we do? Make sure that you're not carrying balances on credit cards. Make sure you're paying down your balances. If you're not able to afford something, don't buy it. Put a stop on that. And buy now, pay later, same thing. Just make sure that you are buying things that you can afford rather than things that you need to finance, because this is costing you. And eventually, with all the things happening and the increases in interest, it might be worse. So there's some studies saying that when COVID hit, people used to have a lot of credit card debt. But there was some point at the beginning when we were getting stimulus checks, we were getting unemployment checks, and people didn't have to pay for their mortgage for that little period of time. People didn't have to pay for the rent. So that during that time in 2021, it was the biggest time when people paid the biggest amount of debt in credit card. People were financially free practically, other than their mortgages and their car payments. However, what happened is once the economy started opening, people started doing new things. People wanted to take vacations, travel. People wanted to eat out and do different things. And what they were doing is, because the expenses were so much higher now due to inflation, they started putting these things on credit cards because, of course, their credit cards were clean. They paid it off. So, but right now, the debt is higher than what it was before in 2021. In 2022, it has almost doubled, just due to the price of getting the same things that they used to be able to get in the past. So what this is doing is that with the interest rate increases, because credit cards have non-fixed interest rate, they're paying more on a monthly basis. So you're paying your monthly payment for your credit card, but it's not actually doing anything towards that payment. So I just wanted to put this information out there to tell my friends and family, please be careful. Please make sure that you're preparing for what is to come. If it doesn't come, okay, but if it comes, I want people to be prepared. Make sure you're making monthly payments on everything that you owe, but make sure that if you're able to pay things down, pay credit cards down, pay car vehicles that have high interest down, do that. And then just make sure you prepare with savings. Just in case you lose your job or anything happens, you are ready for it. But this is all that I had to say for now. Let me see if my spokesperson has anything to say. Okay. All right, guys. If you have questions, let me know in the comments.